Hi guys, and welcome back to Trafford Talk. And I'm joined with Cam, my other host. How you
What's
doing,
up?
mate?
What's going on?
Yeah,
How you doing?
we're
Good.
doing something a bit different today. I mean, we've obviously not done this before, but we're going to break down all of the the international games so far. Um, Me and Cam have both watched the games, watched as many as we can. The ones we didn't manage to catch if they were on at the same time. We've watched the highlights for them, got a good grasp of what has went on in the world. So, first of all, I think we need to start off with the home nation, Manchester United, where they're from, England. And we obviously need to discuss goalkeeping situation, the game. I mean, obviously it was a friendly. We managed to see Dean Henderson play. And first of all, we'll start with Harry Maguire, who is back, got on the score sheet. What do you think? What do you think of him, Cam?
I mean, he's back. That's nice. It's good for us. It's good for England. It was expected. I think he's got back to doing the little things. That's what a lot of people have been saying he needs to do. Just get back to playing his game, and it does help that honestly he's better in a back three. We know that. So when you see him in the back three, you get to see kind of him shine. And it is a style I think will a formation we'll move to probably more in the future. But yeah, he looks back, and it's nice to see him get some headers on target, right? Like that's what we've been missing.
Yeah, well, for example, I know he was up against Shane Duffy for a lot of the headers from crosses, set pieces, and he was completely dominant against him. And I know that Shane Duffy, I mean, I'm Scottish, so I've watched Celtic play this year, and he's on loan from Brighton, so a lot of you guys will obviously know him from that. And he's been pretty terrible for Celtic. He looks as if he's just completely lost all confidence in himself. And even we talk about Sancho's goal as well. I mean, too easy, way too easy.
That was
Players
easy.
like that, players like that, it's you can't let them play with the ball at their feet, or they're going to punish you. But Maguire, I'm happy he's back in the team. Not the best defence around him, I must say. The wing backs were better. I mean, he had Reece James and Bukayo Saka. I mean, we can also talk about Wan-Bissaka, but I mean, I think he should be in the team. But anyway, I mean, he was playing next to Tyrone Mings and Michael Keane, who personally I don't rate Michael Keane.
Keane's garbage. I don't remember the rumors a few years back when he was having that good spell at Everton, and they're not Everton. Where was he? Hull City or something? Can't remember where he was, but he was having a good spell, and everybody was talking about should United bring him back, and I'm like, that is not something we need.
Yeah,
Everton's level, he's not a good. Everton's his level. I'm happy we didn't. Just like that was when we were looking for. It was when we were looking at. We ended up with Maguire, obviously, but we were trying to figure out who we could bring in, and we didn't bring in anybody that year. It was the year that Jose wanted Alderweireld, and he also wanted Maguire, and we just didn't buy anybody. And I'm happy. I'm going to be honest, because like Keane, not for me.
No, he's a nothing player. I don't think he really gives much, especially. I mean, in the big teams in Europe, the defenders need to be able to play with the ball at their feet. And I do think Maguire can do that.
Yeah, he brought it out. He was at midfield at one point. Like, it's what he does. He bypasses midfield a lot.
Yeah, he can carry the ball, definitely. But obviously that was a friendly against Republic of Ireland. They were testing new things. I mean, Dean Henderson, I don't know how he's going to break into the England team. It doesn't look like Southgate is willing to part ways with Pickford. I mean, maybe, I know we saw Nick Pope in goals, and then obviously Dean Henderson came on, but did he have that much to do? Not really. I want to hear your views on it. Do you think maybe Henderson should go out on loan, or?
It's kind of weird. It's weird now because we've seen enough of Pickford to know that Pickford isn't good enough. You're getting a bit of echo there, by the way. He's not quite good enough, if I'm going to be honest. He's proven that. So it's like Dean has proven he is good enough. Like, look at Sheffield. I know it's not Dean Henderson's the reason they were good or bad. I know that. Like, he's not the only reason. But if we're going to be honest, like, they're really bad this year, and they're leaking goals. And Dean Henderson in that team helped them bring him up, helped them have a really great season last year. We've seen that he's good enough to be England's number one. I understand there's these rumors now swirling around saying, should Dean Henderson be loaned out so he can play for England? I don't think so. I think Ollie's using him well. I think he's getting a chance to play. Where is Dean Henderson going to get a chance to play in Champions League right now? Right, like he's getting those opportunities. He's going to play in the cup tournaments. David De Gea is playing well. I think United and what Ollie has tried to do is instill this whole point of you earn your place. So he's not just going to dethrone David De Gea. He's not going to just remove him because people want Dean Henderson in net or whatnot, or because Dean Henderson wants to play for England. He's got to beat him out. And David De Gea has to, in turn, play poorly. So I think he should be England's number one. That's my opinion on it. I think Aaron Wan-Bissaka should be in that team. And we can talk about that a bit after. But I think Reece James is great, and he probably should start because that's the style. But Wan-Bissaka should at least be on the bench, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that with Henderson, I can understand why Southgate is saying it. I mean, I know we disagreed before we started this recording about Henderson, and you made the point that Southgate doesn't really want to play him unless he goes out on loan, unless he gets game time. But you look at Nick Pope, who's playing weekly for Burnley. I know they haven't been amazing recently; they've been pretty poor.
Yeah.
But I think he's playing every week. And you also made the point about Dean Henderson being Sheffield United's player last year, really digging them out of some bad situations at points. So did Jordan Pickford at this point, going back with Sunderland, and then he made the move for 35 million to Everton, and he's just been downhill since. And maybe that is the worry that Southgate's going through. I mean, they've obviously got the Euro 2020 coming up, and maybe he just doesn't want to change. But I know that if Southgate doesn't buck up his ideas and improve the squad, possibly play Jack Grealish as well, fans will want him out.
So yeah, it's interesting. So I like talking about the obviously the players on that squad that we've talked about potentially could be at United, like the Jack Grealish and Jadon Sancho. I Southgate has to play Grealish at this point. I don't know how he has to play him. Obviously the spine of the team is Kane, Henderson. We know he's going to always be on that team, and Harry Maguire, and then the wing. I think the wing kind of it's locked in with Rashford and Sterling still. I don't know if Jadon Sancho is going to start over Sterling. I know Rashford to me has been on Gareth Southgate's team sheet like one of the top players for since he's taken over. He's always preferred him over Sancho, and I don't think Sancho can play he has to play on the right. So it'll be interesting. I think this is a crazy take. But I think Sancho and Rashford should start over Sterling. That's just my opinion. But what I'm seeing from Sancho on the team is he's still a player we should be going to get. And Jack Grealish is still a player we should be going to get. Like, they remember the days of you'd look at the England squad and it'd be made up of basically half United players and then a mix of everybody else. And that's what I want to get back to. I don't know what your thoughts on that.
I feel as if as well, though, I mean, we go back to the transfer targets of last summer, and I mean, we spoke about this so many times, and it's so annoying. I mean, we did want Jack Grealish. At the start, I didn't really want Jack Grealish. I felt as if he was just a low club player who would maybe thrive coming off the bench for a team like us. But this season, he's blown me away. He's amazing. He's absolutely carrying Aston Villa, him and Ross Bartley. I mean, you maybe look at that and think he should get in the England team as well. He's been fantastic. But anyway, we're going to move on to another team who's now in England's Euro 2020 group, and that is Scotland, the country I'm from. And I was on the edge of my seat watching Scott McTominay, who actually played in centre back, the right of the three defenders. And it was really, Scotland always run a kind of makeshift defence, and it was the back five. You've got your two Scottish grown players who play in the Scottish Premiership, and then on the left side it's Andy Robertson of Liverpool and Kieran Tierney as well. And it's a complete makeshift defence. I mean, I've never seen Tierney apart from Scotland. And
you guys just don't have centre backs? Is that the problem?
Not really, no. One of the other centre backs don't even play for Rangers or Celtic. They play for Motherwell, who aren't very great. in Scotland, but he was fantastic against. Somehow, he was fantastic against Jovic and Mitrovic, which we'll also get to. But the nerves. I mean, this has come from me. We were 1-0 up. Great goal. I mean, we spoke about this again before we went on. It was a fantastic goal from Ryan Christie of Celtic. But again, the last minutes of the game, and I was curled up in the ball. I couldn't watch it. It was terrible. I think the commentator even said, I feel sick. Like he was feeling sick. He's Scottish. First time we were 3 minutes away from making history, and Scott McTominay left his man in the corner, and Luka Jokic headed it into the ground. On the park was torrential rain, absolutely terrible the weather, and straight past the Scotland keeper. I was raging. I was so angry because McTominay played so well for Scotland in centre back, and he just left his man. I mean, you're watching it, and I saw your face, and you're like, "What's he doing?" Like,
it was bizarre. McTominay's normally solid in his positioning. That's one thing he's normally good at. He's normally disciplined, right? And he just didn't jump even. He just stood still, and Jovic just moved up this way, just kind of walked, just took a little back step and just waited for the ball to come. And you could tell he was expecting McTominay to jump. Like when he got up there, nobody was there. He's like, "Oh, okay," because he was by himself. And that I think he then made the decision. Well, I'm just going to head this into the ground because there's nobody around me. Because the way he was looking when the ball came to him, and then McTominay was just standing there looking at him, I was shocked. Like that was bizarre. And I think that comes from he's not a center back. Like realistically, he's not. And if we're going to be honest, like, is he great at defending corners for United? Like United, one of our biggest, like probably our biggest failing is defending set pieces. That's one of our biggest weaknesses. So it's something that I don't think as a playing center back it was drilled in. You're right. He did look solid for the whole game. He looked good. And we've seen him do that before. Like we've seen him in that center back role with Mr. Mourinho, who put him back there for quite a few games, I remember. And that's when people were calling him the whole, the teacher's pet and whatnot. But to Scott's credit, we have to now, I brought this up, I think in the group chat where I said, like, I believe Scotland owes Jose Mourinho for Scott being on that team because Jose nurtured him, brought him through the team, gave him a lot of minutes, showed the world what he could do, and then implored him to play for Scotland, which was probably the right choice at the time, if you think about it, because that's got him to play for an international team, and that gives you more exposure and more exposure to different styles and different coaching. Him and so I'm sure you said it, like Alex Ferguson probably had a bit of a part in that too. So it's nice to see Scott kind of rising, but that almost was catastrophic. That was almost real bad.
Yeah, and I mean it went on to penalties. Apart from that, which probably was the main moment that he should really have stopped, he was fantastic. And Scotland have been great, and the defence, they hardly concede. It's crazy because in years gone by, whenever I've been younger, Scotland have just tried to play the kind of football England play, where they attack with freedom, and they've not got the players to do that. So they hit teams on the counter, they score, and we actually played for penalties. And we beat Israel in the previous round on penalties as well. Didn't miss, and we didn't miss these ones as well. It was great. So happy, and hopefully we'll be sitting. I'll be in London this time. No, sorry, during the summer next year in Wembley. Fingers crossed I get a ticket to go and see Scotland versus England in the Euro 2020.
Oh, you gotta do what you can to go see that, bro. You gotta do what you can to go see that.
Yeah, me and my friends are booking somewhere to stay tomorrow, so we can't wait. We cannot wait. We're counting down the days. We'll take thousands upon thousands of people. We'll take over it. I need to buy my kilt and
oh snap! We're gonna rock the kilt. Okay.
Obviously. So anyway, we're going to move on to another of the home nations and move on to Wales, who obviously it was a different team that we've seen Wales play, and it was against USA, and it was just a friendly game. nothing too serious, just like the England game, just to get guys some minutes in preparation for the Nations League games that are coming up. We also saw in defensive two of the midfield, we saw the young Dylan Levitt start, which was a surprise because it seems as if Wales have a lot of time for Levitt, and the fans don't. The fans don't really like him, and I've seen under a lot of the Twitter posts about Dylan Levitt comes on, Dylan Levitt comes off, and they're like, whenever he comes on, they're like, why are we not bringing on this player or this player? And when he comes off, they're like, he's the worst player in the park. Maybe they're just putting him in at the wrong time. I mean, he lasted 80 minutes against USA. Nearly cost a goal for what I've seen. But I mean, hopefully he gains experience. He's a young
players. The Welsh players, we have on our team. Like after Dan James and the Reco from Giggs, the jury's out, man. I don't trust Giggs's recommendations on these Welsh players right now, because as much as Dan James started off flying for us, and he does play well for Wales when he plays for them, he just isn't working in our squad. And I think a lot of the reason is because his decision making is just not there. He doesn't make the right runs. Like he relies solely on, and it's something I like to use it in basketball too. It's like those players who are energy guys who just rely on their athleticism, who don't have an awareness of the game, don't know where they need to be. So a lot of the times you see Dan James making runs that don't make sense, or he puts in crosses that. To me, I'm always happy when any player puts in a cross at United. If we're going to be honest, we don't have a lot of those guys. And he did look good with Rashford a few times, but ever since that adrenaline ran out, he hasn't looked like a player that should have came to United. And that's my honest feedback on him. Is I think when I saw him linked to going to Leeds for 20 million or whatever, or loaned out, like I wouldn't have been upset if we did something like with a loan with an option to buy for Leeds. I wouldn't have been if he ends up being better at Leeds, and power to him. It's there has to be at some point some kind of ruthlessness with the players on our squad, because if these young wingers we've bought come in and they look good, and then we still have eyes for Sancho or somebody else, like Dan James is surplus he's never going to play again. So you might as well get some money for him, because if he's not playing well for Wales, and obviously that was a friendly, so we didn't see much from him. When are we going to see what he's supposed to be? Which I don't even know what kind of player Dan James is supposed to be. Like, you always do comparisons of players look like this, or they remind you of he doesn't really. I'm not sure who he reminds me of. He kind of reminds me of Valencia at the end sometimes, to be honest. Which isn't the good thing. He reminds me of Valencia at the end of his career.
Yeah, I can tell you don't like Dan James too much, but I have more time for him probably than what you do. But obviously he's been through a very tough year. I would probably give him another year, and then maybe look out to loan with the obligation to buy, something along those lines. But yeah, we didn't obviously see enough of James really to comment on his performance against USA. It was quite a flat game. USA missed a chance that was basically laid off by Dylan Levitt. Hopefully learns from that. But yeah, I think James was rested for the Republic of Ireland versus Wales game in the Nations League, which is Sunday, and which is probably the day that this will go up. This will go live. Which we also need to say, which I completely forgot about at the start. We're recording this on Saturday, just before the kickoffs, the 7:45 UK time kickoffs, and we'll get to that in a moment. But we're going to move on to Spain versus Holland, or the Netherlands, sorry, which was a draw, and Donny van der Beek managed to get on the score sheet. What do you think about that goal? Because I thought it was pretty much perfect. The ball into the back post, and I thought I heard them shout leave it or whatever. And
that's what I wanted to talk about, because actually I watched a lot. I was watching him very intently in that game. So if he yelled leave it, that was a brilliant goal. If it was just a miss by I can't remember who the center forward was that let it go. If he just missed it, because it could have been one of two things. Because the announcer's like, "Oh, we're not sure if he missed it or whatever." It was a well taken goal. It was a very well
Great finish.
Hit ball, great finish. And I'm starting to see Donny van de Beek's a great finisher. But I'm going to ask your opinion on this too. So when I watch him play, one thing I noticed, he was offside a lot. I think he was called offside 4 times. 4 times, I think, throughout the game, 4 or 5 times. Because he's always trying to get in behind the defenders, which is fine. Like, I'm okay with that to an extent, as long as it doesn't hit Morata levels where it's like you live offside and it's just now on you. But the way he plays, this goes back to our midfield, and I'm going to bring up a quote too, actually, that I have on my phone, because I want to talk about the difference in how the Dutch are dealing with the Donny van de Beek situation and the difference in how the French are dealing with the Pogba situation. And we could probably go into that game next, or however you have it on the docket. So he's all movement. He really is all movement. Like, his style of play is really all movement, quick. He doesn't take a lot of touches. He lives in the box. It makes sense when you look at how we line up that he doesn't play every game, in my opinion. Like, I think Ollie's got it figured out right now, but if you are going to start a midfield 3 that predominantly has Scott, Fred, and Bruno, I actually think he works very well with Pogba. And I'm starting to see why we're getting that mix of, or Mata, guys who are very technical players. I don't know what you think of that, but
yeah, they're all very technically gifted. The guys that he likes to be around, be one-touch balls. I mean, the goal that we scored, the Bruno scored. I can't remember the opponent. I've lost it. Juan Mata sprays the ball, and Donny van der Beek's in there, and it was just a well taken goals you get with those type of players. But can he start every game? I think he would probably excel in Europe more. Whenever we play him against certain teams in Europe, I hope it doesn't turn out like a Mkhitaryan type situation where he doesn't ever really get enough games.
I don't think it will. I think he's 23, and I'm going to read this quote from De Boer because I think it's important. Yeah. I have it up on my phone. I got to find it. Give me one sec, because I think it kind of highlights exactly what.
Yeah, and he also made a last second ball to Ryan Babel, and I do not know how that guy manages to still play at the top level for the Netherlands. I'm so surprised he's still playing. I mean, he was playing for Fulham was it Fulham? And
yeah.
He was terrible. And he's now still playing next to Memphis Depay and Donny van der Beek, and crazy.
So here's the quote. It was, so this is from Sport Witness, which is a very good, they're pretty good. They suss out all the nonsense. It's like so it starts off, they're like, with the chance of the 23-year-old to now get some more minutes with his national team and to add to his 14 caps, Netherlands manager Frank de Boer has been asked about the player. Quoted by Voetbal, I think is how you say it, International, he responded, "Of course I try to give him as much confidence as possible. I also show that by letting him play against Italy. He did a pretty nice job. He's also doing well at United, but they have a fantastic midfield. That's difficult too, but Donny will still get to play enough. Of course he wants more, but you also have to get used to a different competition. He will experience that too. Let's hope he'll eventually get minutes. In any case, he is equipped so we can use him well." It is a very big different, like, that is a very different way of dealing with this situation than what we're seeing from Mr. fucking Deschamps over there. Sorry for swearing. I can't stand Didier Deschamps, if I'm going to be honest with you, because this has always happened with him, especially for whatever reason with United players. Like when Griezmann was rumored to come here, he was like, no, he's staying in Spain. He's not going to United. The Pogba situation, the not picking Martial till now, until Jose left, even though Martial, I'm sorry, as much as Giroud does a job. He's one of those guys. It's like, you look at a manager like this and you think that's exactly how you should deal with it. These players are your players when they're at the national side. They're not your players. You don't have a right to speak about what's going on really, and at least recognize, unlike the other pundits out there, that we have a great midfield and he has to work to get into it. So I thought that was an important quote. And then there's one more from the Dutch internet, and this is from a player who is like, if you look at Davy Klaassen, he went to Everton and he fails there, and then we think Van de Beek is going to succeed at United. Not going to happen. So there's two sides of the story. Like, what do you think? Like, I'm more with Frank. I think, like you said, I think he will eventually. I don't think it's going to go Mkhitaryan way. But what do you think?
Yeah, I do need to agree with you that I think Frank is correct, and it is different from the whole stance on Pogba in general. I think there's way more like positives than negatives with Van der Beek. Everyone's very confident that he will do the job and that he can succeed at the higher level. Whereas Pogba, I mean, we'll move on to Pogba just now. See the way that he defended Finland's second in a 2-0 defeat. He stood and watched, and it keeps happening time after time. I don't know what's going on. Is it to do with his home life? Is it to do with the media? Is it to do with United? Is it to do with the management? Deschamps? I have no clue. And I'm running out of ideas and ways to back him because I do love Pogba, but I don't know if it is just because of his whole look overall, or it's actually about his football ability, because it's not good. And he somehow managed to start for France tonight as well. Him and Steven Nzonzi, I don't know if that was a duo, did not work. Finland, you shouldn't be losing 2-0 against Finland whenever you're the best.
You're the best team in the world.
You're the best team in the world. It's crazy. He did not have any urgency to close the guy down on the edge of the box. Strolling over him. It was frustrating. And yeah, that's what I said. With Van der Beek, I feel as if you're constantly getting positive vibes, whereas it's the complete opposite with Pogba. And yes, there is people who go out and try and take Pogba down a peg or two and bring other guys up into the debate. Oh, this guy is better than Pogba, or just the usual. Pogba's always in the headlines, but it's getting to a point now. As I said, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to agree with me. It's painful to watch Pogba.
It's tough. So Pogba, the whole, I love Pogba on a kit.
Yeah, I'm the same.
The problem is he's just such a street baller, and he's such a luxury player now. It's starting, that whole luxury player term, I never really bought into it until recently. And I'm starting to see it more and more because when Pogba is not fully on, he doesn't help your team. And that's the problem. When Pogba isn't doing something brilliant, or like Pogba likes, it's almost like Pogba wants to be on the highlight reel. Like he wants to make something pretty happen. He wants to, and when that's not going his way, or when he's not on the ball, like he doesn't do much for the team, and it's getting hard. You're right. It's getting very hard to defend him. Like you're a midfielder. At the end of the day, you're supposed to be a box-to-box midfielder, Pogba. You're not a 10. You're not a winger. Like you're a midfielder, and you've come out and said it. You get judged differently than somebody. Like I remember him once doing an interview saying, nobody says anything about Iniesta, the maestro, when he doesn't have a bunch of assists or goals or whatever. It's like, oh, bro, if you're going to put yourself in that category, then you got to do a lot more. And you got to be a lot more intelligent on the pitch. And I'm really tired of Deschamps deflecting and blaming United, saying the situation at United isn't helping Pogba. Well, Pogba's not helping United. Sorry, bro. Like, so Pogba's not helping us. Like I remember watching, and I don't like Craig Burley at all, by the way. Your fellow Scotsman there. But he was saying he should be embarrassed to be looking at the starting lineup and seeing Fred and Scott in front of him. He's like, he should be embarrassed. Not saying, and he didn't take anything away from Fred and Scott. He said, because you're Paul Pogba and the skill you have and the profile you have and the player we know you're supposed to be, you should be embarrassed that you are not starting week in, week out, one of the first names on United's team sheet. And the fact that Ollie has now gotten brave enough to be like, I don't need to start Pogba. Like, I need to protect my job, not the player anymore. And it's not like Ollie has thrown him under the bus or done anything like that. Ollie's always protecting this guy. So it's getting to a point where Pogba just needs to, do something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like you said, if it's just because he doesn't want to be at United and he really wants to go to Real Madrid. But the problem is, if you go to Madrid, Pogba, the fans in Madrid will destroy you if you play.
They destroyed Ronaldo. Like, I think I'll go to Juve if anything. I did hear Fabrizio Romano say that if the coronavirus crisis didn't really happen this summer, he would be a Juventus player, which I tried to ignore. But see now, I think you can see it. He looks as if his head's just not in the game. But I could do a separate video. If you guys would be interested in it, we'll do it. And I'm sure Cam would want to do it as well. Maybe talk about individual players, but it's getting very, I can't even describe it. It's just disaster after disaster and problem after problem, really. He's not making the team any better. I don't think he's had one good performance this season so far. For France, I'm surprised he's on the team sheet tonight. I'm surprised Martial's on the team sheet tonight as well. He looks as if he's lacking confidence. I don't know what he's doing.
I'm happy with Martial getting back in the squad because I think Martial needs to be there. I think if you think about it, the way Griezmann's playing as well, it's not France need a striker. Like Giroud is not playing right now, so Deschamps has to bring Martial is actually getting game time. He's actually playing well. Like I think he is lacking confidence. But if we're going to be honest, he's scored in Europe both games. I think he scored in Europe both games. He hasn't had enough time to really. Martial's the type of he's like a rhythm player. It seems like when he's in the flow, when he's got his rhythm going, he's great. And when he's off it, And every player goes through that. Every player goes through it. And I think he hasn't been able to get his rhythm ever since that red card. I think it kind of derailed him a bit because the whole team was bad. Like we talk about when he played, he was bad. But no, I don't like looking at it in isolation of just Martial. Let's look at the whole team. Against Crystal Palace, we were terrible. Against Brighton, we were terrible. Like the whole team. So it wasn't just Martial. And Martial's not a player who, again, United don't have many players like this. We only really have Bruno Fernandes who elevate the whole team when the team's not playing bad. Who can play? Like we have a lot of players who, when the team's playing bad, they play bad. Like we don't have, and it seems like a common thing with us. And Pogba, obviously, I've said this before. I believe that our team goes how Martial and how Pogba go. When they're off, we look really bad. When they're on, we look really good. And I still believe, obviously, Martial has a place in the team. He's going to be our number 9, but now he's under threat by Cavani, as we know, but he needs more time. So I hope we see something from him tonight. I hope that it's Portugal, France, is it? That's going to be a big game, right? And those guys are playing against each other. You have Bruno, who as much as people are talking, Pogba and Bruno know that they're pitted against each other. And now it's Bruno's team. Bruno came in and snatched the team from Pogba. So it'll be interesting if Pogba takes that personally and shows up tonight.
Yeah, it will be good to watch tonight. And myself and Cam, we'll be back for another international special, talking about all the United players and how they've played. Probably midweek. We'll see how it goes. We might wait till the second set of is it the Euro games as well, the Nations League.
Mm-hmm.
But Bruno Fernandes, for example, he didn't even play in the friendly against is it Armenia? Am I correct? Moldova?
No. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and a 7-0 win. Is that even a friendly, or is that just a kickabout? I'm quite happy he didn't start. I mean, that was maybe a request from United, just to sit on the bench, give him an extra couple of days. I mean, he has looked fatigued over the last couple of weeks. I'm really happy that he's had a break now, and he'll obviously be ready to play tonight and behind Ronaldo, and I'm sure it's João Felix as well. So that'll be interesting. And fingers crossed Ronaldo manages to overtake the top guys in the international goals as well, and becomes the best international goal scorer ever.
It'll happen.
And the best player ever. He already has that.
I think it'll happen. And I think with Bruno Fernandes, I think you hit the nail on the head with I do believe those are requests from United. And I think those requests are easy to make when he is starting week in, week out, and he's the crown jewel of Portugal right now. Like if you think about it, in the world, other than Ronaldo, because Ronaldo is Ronaldo, and until he retires, he's going to be the greatest Portuguese player, period. But other than Ronaldo, who's a better Portuguese player in the world right now? There isn't. Bernardo Silva's in and out of the City team. Because people would have made that argument before. João Felix, I will say this, is looking
very good.
Great. That kid is I remember watching a couple of those Champions League games where he didn't start, and then Simeone brought him in, and it just whole game changed. And that guy is, I will say this, he is going to be a superstar player. But as it stands right now, Bruno, I think, is their crown jewel. He's their best player. So you're not gonna, if United's listen, you're playing Moldova. Can you please just not play Bruno? Can we need him to keep kicking on for United? Yeah, it's an easy. Okay, cool. We'll do it. No problem.
Yeah, you look at those games as well. Though I feel as if that was just to kind of burn some time, not like a big friendly, because obviously they've got this huge game coming up because they want to top the group. But you look at Portugal as well, and you think going forward to Euro 2020, which I'm buzzing for. I cannot wait, and I think you know that, and we'll make several podcasts about it. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. And I think Portugal again have a much better chance of what they did last time, and they won it last time.
Their team's better. Their team is significantly better.
In every position, everyone is improved. I mean, you look at Joao Felix. It's as if he's settled in Atletico now. And then Bruno Fernandes has really joined the team, and even the defence. You look at Ruben Diaz. I think he looks fantastic for Manchester City.
The whole team is a bunch. Their whole team are studs.
Yeah. But we're going to move on to Sweden and the Sweden and Denmark game, which we'll just quickly talk about this. That Lindelof didn't play, wasn't even on the bench. Possible injury.
He's dealing with a back injury.
Yeah. So hopefully, with that coming back to United, we obviously want as many players back fit as possible. I know it's hard with it. I've seen this
for you.
A lot of different sites that we're really struggling because we've got games. They're flying off to their international games. They've got their midweek games. They've got their Champions League games midweek, their cup games, and then they've got their games at the weekend. The schedule is so tight.
I actually have a
views on that because, I mean, personally, I think we're playing way too many games at the moment, and international games are really just being flung into the mix almost every month now.
Every month, and it's like it's weird with the coronavirus and everything. And I've been talking about this a lot with some of my boys. Should international football be happening? Realistically, it shouldn't. I understand there's a lot of money in it, but when you have a global pandemic and then you have, for instance, the Brazil team having one guy test positive again, and then everybody, you're sitting there being like, man, we just lost Telles to the coronavirus. You have players getting it, and the fact that it's so dangerous to what could happen in the leagues. It's like you're going away, you're flying, you're traveling. I'm sure they're doing what they can, but it's interesting to see that there's so many games. And here's a quote from Victor Lindelof and why I believe he's not playing. He's like, the backfield's okay. I've been having problems for a few weeks. I've struggled through matches. It's nice that I got a few days off now where there has only been treatment, and I really tried to rest. It felt good in training today. Hopefully there should be no problems. If they want me to play, I will play and see how it feels. And after that, we'll see how the back will be. So clearly, Lindelof needs to rest. Like when you're saying that, and I appreciate the manager not playing him, but when you're saying you're dealing with a back injury and you're dealing with a back injury through our games, and he's playing, and he is the first choice center back, as much as I still remember everybody was like, we have to start Bailly, and then he had a disaster class, and it's like, we have to start Axel Twanzebe, disaster class. I believe at some point people have to just understand that the manager sees Lindelof and Maguire as our best pairing, and they're proving it. Like, because last year again they were still the third best defense in the world. Yeah. So I don't want him to be playing in these Euro games if you're dealing with a back, because backs are dangerous. You never know. Like, remember what happened with Rashford?
Cam, I need to stop you there. So I mean, you guys will see this tomorrow, which is Sunday, but we are recording this around 7 p.m. UK time. And obviously the team lineups are out, and the kickoff is in 45 minutes. And Lindelof starting and better back. So,
great on you, eh?
So Cam, we need to fly you over to Sweden. Support his back, tell the manager to get him off and fit for the United game. But yeah, I'm not surprised that he's starting this game because Nations League against Croatia, they want to win. They want to get a free pass, hopefully to the World Cup. These Nations League, I always get the name wrong because it's so new. Yeah. The Nations League game is for the World Cup. So, I mean, every team's taking this very seriously. But talking about seriousness, we were talking about this before we came on as well. We had a lengthy discussion about all the games and what we thought. We should probably have recorded that, actually. You reacting to some of the goals. It was quite funny seeing your face.
Them were bad.
Unai Simon started in goals tonight again for Spain. He also started in goals against Donny van der Beek and the Netherlands.
Respect.
Where's David De Gea? Why is he not starting? What do you think about that one? I mean, I'm shocked. It's such a strange one. To be honest, I've never heard of the guy. He played for Athletic Bilbao in La Liga.
No idea who he was, and honestly, the goal that Donny scored was a good one. But I also thought the keeper could have done better. But I remember seeing, I'm like, was that David? I'm like, it didn't seem like David. He should have came out maybe.
Come on, he couldn't have got that.
No, but I don't think he could have got it. I think he could have at least came out and made it. He didn't even do it. He just stood there and wait. Like, you could have at least come out and make yourself bigger, challenge, do something.
It was fizzed in the bottom corner. There was no way he was getting to that. I need to disagree with you.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, but when I think of the David De Gea situation, he's been this black sheep for Spain for a long time, and it all stems back to him not going to Real, and people blame him for that, which is weird because it was a fax machine issue. But I think the problem people have is after that fax machine issue happened, instead of just waiting and not signing a contract and going to Real for free, because that's what all the Spanish that's what the Madridistas wanted. They're like, well, then just come for free. Like, we'll get him. He really wants to come here. United's wasting their time. And he signed a contract. And there's been outrage ever since that. And you saw even Kepa getting the starts over him. And that was nuts. Like, Kepa out of form still starting over him. And then, like, when David De Gea makes one mistake, it's completely knives out in the Spanish media. They all just crucify him. And it's completely unfair. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I just can't believe that he's not starting. He's not starting tonight. I'm pretty angry about it. I'm not even going to lie to you, mate. It's crazy. It's against Switzerland, who are quite a good team. They're very, very compact. They catch you out and they'll punish you. And also, this is for the World Cup as well. I mean, we don't know who Spain have in their group yet, in their qualifying group, just their traditional qualifying group. What if they get a couple of good teams in it and they look back on this and they lose against Switzerland? Because, I mean, in their group as well, I'm looking at it right here on my phone, they've got Germany and Ukraine. Germany, we know what Germany can do. Mm-hmm. Surely David De Gea is going to give more back to the country, back to the team, back to the manager than what this guy, Unai Simon, will.
Where's Bilbao in the league right now? Let me look that up, because honestly, David De Gea's form has been great for United. So it's like, I would understand if his form was poor like it was last year.
Yeah, so Spain are top of the group by 1 point, and Germany and Ukraine are on 6, so they're 1 point behind. And Switzerland are on 2.
Atletico Bilbao is not in La Liga this year.
No, they are.
No, are they Athletic Club? I'm looking at the La Liga.
Athletic Club, yeah.
They're Athletic Club. Okay, I couldn't remember if they use two names, because there's always the two. Okay, so they're 14th. They're 14th. So I get it. United's not much better right now, but
that's okay though. I mean, they're 14th. But why? It's like, yeah, we'll never be able to understand what Luis Enrique is thinking. Or David De Gea is a world-class keeper, top 3 in the world. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah,
and you're benching him for a mid-table Spanish keeper. Probably better than Kepa, right enough.
If it had been Kepa, it would have been a problem too. Because if Kepa,
and anyway, we need to move on, and we need to talk about another player who got brought on. Maybe it was because of the fact he's been out with coronavirus. But Alex Telles was on the bench for Brazil against Venezuela yesterday, and a 1-0 win. And he came on whenever it was 1-0. And Brennan Lodi started at left back over him, who, again, I would probably deem that Alex Telles is a better player, all-round player, than Brennan Lodi. Alex Telles can obviously bring a lot going forward. And defensively, people disrespect him. He's done it for Porto for years. He's done it in the Champions League, in the Europa League for years. He can do it. He can do it at every single level. But it seems as if with Brazil, he's never ever starting. Yes, obviously this game you can understand maybe because he's just back from he's had the week out with coronavirus, but he's not going to start the next game either, is he? Let's be real. I'll be surprised if we're sitting here next week saying, "Oh, Alex Telles was playing the 90 minutes." I can't see it happening. I hope he does,
because I don't think he'll play. Well, I think if we're going to be honest, he hasn't really played much this year, right? And then obviously coronavirus, moving to a new league, that's hurt him. And if we're going to talk about the past teams, why he didn't play, Marcelo was probably the second or third name on the team for Brazil for however many years. As great as Telles has been for Porto, he wasn't going to take that spot. So it will be interesting now that Marcelo's kind of an afterthought. Like he's clearly not their guy starting anymore. If he does end up losing a spot to this new kid from Atletico Madrid, you said it was, he starts for. So I think we need to see more now that Luke Shaw's out. Obviously, we're going to see more of Telles, and I think this will be Telles' opportunity to kind of take that spot. So if Telles comes in and plays really well for United, which I'm expecting, I wouldn't be shocked to see him in that team. But I think since we're not going to see him before, like obviously they're playing before we get back, we won't. But I think once Telles gets going in a United kit and starts looking good in our side, then we might see him play more for that Brazil side. But I think it's hard for a manager. In this situation, it's hard for a manager to pick a guy who's just not playing. And for whatever reasons those are, the new league, this or that, he's still being picked for the team, which says a lot. So they still believe he could do something, but I think he needs more time.
Yeah, I'm happy he got on. I mean, at least he got a short spell on the park. And they obviously trusted him because it was only 1-0 the game finished. But Brazil aren't the Brazil that I knew growing up. I mean, Richarlison, for example, is playing like...
Yeah, the Ronaldinho, the Samba team that just would obliterate squads. Brazil was everybody's favorite, second favorite team. Like Brazil was you were like...
Yeah, everyone had a Brazil top as well. So iconic.
I remember I cheer for England because in Canada we don't have a team, so I go with the whole Commonwealth thing. But once England was out, I was always like, all right, let's cheer for Brazil. Even when I lived in Argentina. Huh?
Canada don't have a team. Yes, we do.
No. We got Alphonso Davies. Let's go.
Play him up front.
Straight up. He plays, he is an attacker. He was an attacker on the Canada side for a bit.
Yeah.
Which is sad, and poor guy's hurt. But I lived in Argentina for a year, and I obviously you can't cheer for Brazil when you live in Argentina. That literally puts your life at risk. And I remember I went to go watch a friendly in a place called Rosario, and it was very interesting, the dynamic. I didn't get in the game. We were trying to scout, but I ended up watching it from a bar beside where the game was happening. And it was the craziest experience I ever had. People were standing on tables yelling, and because there's no black people in Argentina, all the black people are Brazilian. They all started looking at me being like, "Hey, Brasileiro!" And coming at me being like this guy. And I had to make friends to be like, "Yo, I'm Canadian. I'm wearing a kit for Argentina." But yeah, that's just a cool story I had about Brazil because I loved their team back in the day. Nowadays they're not quite the same.
Yeah, they're not obviously not the same, but they do have a kind of flair players. And I would say Alex Telles has got that kind of Brazilian blood where he can whip in a cross out of nothing, and he likes his step overs, his skill moves, which we do lack at left back and the wing backs. I mean, Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw. Let's hope obviously Luke Shaw can recover quickly from his injury. Classic Luke Shaw, always injured. But I'm glad that Telles is back, and we'll obviously see more of him in the next Brazilian game, which will be this week coming. And obviously myself, Robbie, and yourself, Cam, we'll be back on Trafford Talk next week with another international game roundup of all United players. Hopefully we'll see more guys involved.
Yeah,
and James and the rest.
We almost forgot about one of the guys though, the Uruguayan, Cavani, number 7. our new number 7. We can't forget about our new number 7. Why did we give him?
I can't believe I was nearly signing off there without going through our third goal scorer, because Maguire scored as well. What do you think about that goal? And I know we obviously spoke about this before. I completely forgot about him. I actually forget he plays with United. I've obviously hardly seen him play. Doesn't really look match fit.
He doesn't.
But he played along basically the full game, and he scored.
Needed him 2 minutes. And I think the manager's trying to help him do that. So I'm going to pull up another quote, because I like that's one thing I like to follow on the international breaks is what are the managers saying too about these players. And basically he goes, he's able to play with the same generosity that he has always done, which I think he kind of meant in this. That's a weird word to use there, but he's just saying, he's. I think no one can, yeah, he's like, I think no one can say how many minutes he can play. We'll see it from the moment he participates in the game, although it may be unknown if it's from the beginning or coming in. We'll see how much of what he usually does he can do right now. So that just tells me, I mean, he was out a lot last year with injury. And he's still trying. Like, you got to understand, these guys taking a year off or whatever, that the intensity needed to play at the high level is very important. And we saw at least what I like to see from him is the fact that he's still very clinical. And he is very much like what I was saying about Donny van de Beek. He's very much movement based. And that goal, even against it was Everton or whatever, where Bruno kind of just fed him on a plate, I at no point thought he was going to miss. And I think that's very important to have from your striker. I hate the fact that I was going to say you're number 9, but he's wearing 7, and that killed me. But I think that's very important to have. And I think the more games go on, and if Martial continues to not perform in the Prem, we might see Cavani up front. We might see Greenwood up front. So I think the competition is going to be there, and I'm hoping that clinical edge he's going to be able to teach to Martial, because he still has that. When he's him versus a goalie, or I'm never worried that he's going to score. That's I don't think he's going to miss.
His goal was very well taken against Colombia, who are obviously quite a good side as well. They made it in the World Cup.
He was up against Mina, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Mina and Murillo, who are both well-known defenders. And it was very similar to the goal against Everton. The way he went about it, broke into space, out wide,
held his line,
easy finish. I mean, you knew he was going to score. And I just want to make one more point before we log off here. I can't believe that Suarez took the penalty. I'm very surprised. I'm surprised Cavani didn't grab him by the throat at half time and find out why he wasn't taking it. Because I mean, we've seen arguments break out in the Paris Saint-Germain team with Cavani and Neymar trying to fight over penalties. Seeing that Suarez just was always going to take that one.
I think in that team, though, isn't. I don't know who normally takes it for Uruguay, but I wouldn't be surprised if they both swap back and forth, because both of them are their number 9s, right? It's both their team. In the PSG situation, that was more ego and Neymar coming in and now being like, now I take the penalties, and Cavani being like, I'm the penalty taker. What are you talking about? Now you take them, and that was more ego and more of a power struggle, I think. So now we're at least. I think I get where you're confused on that, where you're like, well, he didn't fight for this one. And I think it's because he's happy to let Suarez have that, where Neymar coming in new to the squad, he wasn't happy to just cede that penalty duty up to him, because he's great at taking penalties. It's not like at United where we had a problem, if we're going to be honest. Like Pogba missed 4, we had Martial missing, we had Rashford missed 2 or whatever. It was very easy to be like, Bruno, you take the penalties, plain and simple. There's no argument there. But when you have 2 great penalty takers, because Suarez is also.
No, we actually have 2 now. Telles is fantastic at penalties.
Yeah, Telles is you're right. Telles is he had 11 set piece goals in Portugal.
So many goals for Porto over the years. He was a penalty taker, many assists as well. Hopefully we can see more from the South American guys that have been brought in.
Fred didn't make the squad for Brazil, right?
No, again.
Fred doesn't play like a Brazilian though. So
he goes in on people. Like with Brazil, it's more kind of tiki-taka, step over skills.
Except Casemiro, who is their balance. But you don't. The difference is with Fred and Casemiro is Casemiro can actually hit a ball. you can actually trust him to hit a ball. And I think that does keep him out of the side. He's not the same. He doesn't have the techers and whatnot, so he can't really get into that team. But yeah, I think that rounds up the squad.
Yeah, it's always been great speaking to you as always. We'll be back next week. And apologies as well, guys, about the community talk podcast. I've been ill over the week. You wouldn't have wanted to listen to my voice, especially not on Spotify. I was coughing and I kind of lost my voice at a point as well. So there's absolutely no way that I'd be able to come on. But back next week for the community podcast and international roundups. And then obviously Cam and Ahmed will be back with the
match preview.
Yeah, doing a great job on that as well, getting guys on. Basically just fans, community, get everyone involved. That's the aim of Trafford Talk overall, which you guys all know. Just looking to bring new guys on every week. But yeah, thanks for coming on, mate, as always.
No problem. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe, get involved. Like I've been saying, you're probably new to the channel because we're new, but we're going to keep going. Let's go.
Yep. Hey, thank you. Thanks for coming on, mate.
No problem, buddy.